The Cask of Amontillado by Edgar Allan Poe. I had endured the 1,000 injuries of Fortunato as best I could, but when he dared to insult me, I swore revenge. You who know the nature of my soul so well will understand that I gave no hint of my intentions. At last, I was determined to be avenged. This much was settled, absolutely. And the certainty with which I made that decision left no room for risk. I had to punish, yes, but punish without being caught. A wrong is not truly avenged if the punishment falls on the one delivering it, nor is it avenged if the one who caused the injury doesn't realize who brought justice upon him. Understand this clearly. Neither in word nor action had I given Fortunato any reason to doubt my good intentions. I continued as usual to smile in his face, and he never noticed that now my smile came at the thought of his destruction. Fortunato had one weakness, though in other ways he was a man worthy of respect, even fear. He prided himself on his skill in judging wine. Few Italians truly have the spirit of a connoisseur. Most of their enthusiasm is just a show, meant to deceive British and Austrian millionaires. In painting and gems, Fortunato, like his countrymen, was a fraud. But in old wines, he was genuine. On that point, I wasn't much different from him. I was well versed in Italian vintages myself, and bought heavily whenever I had the chance. One evening around dusk, during the wild chaos of carnival season, I ran into him. He greeted me with great warmth. He'd clearly been drinking heavily. He wore a jester's outfit, tight-fitting striped clothes and a conical cap with bells. I was so pleased to see him that I didn't stop shaking his hand for some time. I said, "My dear Fortunato, what luck running into you. You're looking remarkably well today. But I've just acquired a cask of what's supposed to be Amontillado, and I have my doubts." "What?" he said. "Amontillado, a whole cask? Impossible, and during carnival?" "I'm not sure," I replied, "and I was foolish enough to pay full price without consulting you. I couldn't find you, and I was afraid of losing the deal." "Amontillado. I have my doubts. Amontillado, and I must clear them up. Amontillado. Since you're busy, I'm on my way to Lucchesi. He's quite the expert, he'll tell me." Lucchesi couldn't tell Amontillado from sherry. Yet some people say his taste rivals yours. "Come on, let's go." "Where?" "To your wine cellar." "My friend, no, I wouldn't want to impose. I see you've got plans, Lucchesi." "I have no plans. Let's go." "My friend, no, it's not just your plans, it's the awful cold I can tell you've got. The cellar is unbearably damp. It's covered in niter." "Let's go anyway. The cold means nothing. Amontillado." "You've been tricked. And as for Lucchesi, he can't tell sherry from Amontillado." With that, Fortunato took my arm. I put on a black silk mask and wrapped my cloak tightly around myself, letting him lead me to my house. There were no servants at home. They'd all left to celebrate the festival. I'd told them I wouldn't return until morning and gave strict orders not to leave the house. Of course, I knew this would guarantee they'd vanish the moment I turned my back. I took 2 torches from their holders, handed one to Fortunato, and led him through several rooms to the archway leading down to the vaults. We descended a long, winding staircase, and I warned him to be careful as he followed. At last, we reached the bottom and stood on the damp earth of the Montresor catacombs. Fortunato's steps were unsteady, and the bells on his cap jingled as he walked. "The cask," he said. "It's further in," I replied. "But look at that white web clinging to the walls." He turned toward me and stared with glassy, drunken eyes. "Niter?" he asked. "Niter," I said. "How long have you had that cough?" Ugh, 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 ugh. He couldn't answer for several minutes. "It's nothing," he finally said. "Come," I said firmly. "Let's go back. Your health is valuable. You're rich, respected, admired, loved. You have so much. You're a man people would miss. Me, I don't matter. We'll go back. You'll get sick, and I can't take responsibility. Besides, there's always Lucchesi." "Enough," he said. "It's just a cough. It won't kill me. I won't die from a cough." "True. True," I said. "I didn't mean to worry you, but you should be cautious. A drink of this medak will protect us from the damp." I knocked the neck off a bottle I took from a long row of others lying on the ground. Drink, I said, handing it to him. He raised it with a grin, nodded to me, and his bells jingled. I drink, he said, to the dead who rest around us, and I to your long life. He took my arm again, and we continued. These vaults, he said, they're massive. The Montresors, I replied, were a large and noble family. I forget your family crest. A huge golden human foot on a blue background. The foot crushes a rearing snake whose fangs are sunk into the heel. And the motto? No one insults me without punishment. Good, he said. The wine sparkled in his eyes and the bells rang out. I, too, began to feel the warmth of the Medoc. We walked through walls lined with bones, with wine barrels scattered between, until we reached the deepest parts of the catacombs. I paused and took hold of Fortunato by the upper arm. The nitre, I said. It's thicker here. It hangs like moss from the ceiling. We're below the riverbed. The water drips among the bones. Let's go back before it's too late. Your cough... It's nothing, he said. Let's keep going. But first, another drink. I handed him a bottle of de Grave. He drank it in one gulp. His eyes flashed wildly. He laughed and tossed the bottle upward with a strange gesture. I looked at him, puzzled. He repeated the odd movement. You don't understand? He asked. No, I said. Then you're not one of the Brotherhood. What? You're not a Mason. Oh yes, I said. Yes, I am. You, a Mason? No way. A Mason? I said again. Then give me a sign. Here, I replied, pulling a trowel from under my cloak. You're joking, he said, stepping back. Let's go find that Amontillado. So be it, I said, putting the tool away and offering him my arm again. He leaned on it heavily. We moved on deeper still. We passed through low arches, descended more steps, and arrived at a deep crypt where the foul air made our torches glow more than burn. At the far end of the crypt was another smaller one. Its walls had once been stacked high with bones like the catacombs in Paris. 3 of its walls were still lined that way. On the 4th, the bones had been thrown aside and now lay in a heap. Behind this pile, a narrow opening led into a niche about 4 feet deep, 3 feet wide, and 6 or 7 feet tall. It seemed built for no real purpose, just an empty space between 2 of the massive supports of the catacomb roof, with a solid granite wall behind it. Fortunato lifted his weak torch, trying to see into the back of the niche. The dim light showed nothing. Go ahead, I said. The Amontillado is in there. As for Lucchesi... He's an idiot, Fortunato said, stepping into the niche while I followed closely behind. In a moment he reached the back wall and, finding himself blocked, looked confused. In the next instant I had chained him to the granite. 2 iron staples were set in the wall about 2 feet apart. One held a short chain, the other a padlock. I wrapped the chain around his waist and locked it. It took only seconds. He was too shocked to resist. I stepped back, holding the key. Feel the wall, I said. The nitre is thick. It's very damp. Please, let me urge you once more to go back. No? Then I must do everything I can to help you get comfortable. The Amontillado, he cried, still stunned. Yes, I said. The Amontillado. As I spoke, I dug into the pile of bones and uncovered bricks and mortar. With the trowel, I began to build a wall across the opening. I had barely laid the first row when I noticed Fortunato's drunkenness was wearing off. The first sign was a low, moaning cry from deep within. It wasn't the cry of a drunk man. Then came a long, stubborn silence. I laid the second row, then the third and fourth. Then I heard furious rattling of the chain. The noise went on for several minutes. I paused, listening with a grim sense of satisfaction, and sat on the bones. When the rattling stopped, I got back to work and laid the 5th, 6th, and 7th rows. The wall now reached my chest. I held up my torch and cast faint light on the figure inside. Suddenly, a burst of loud, high-pitched screams erupted from the chained man's throat, forcing me back. For a moment I hesitated. I even trembled. I drew my sword and reached into the niche, feeling blindly. But then I calmed. I pressed my hand to the solid wall and felt secure. I returned to the bricks. I answered his screams. I echoed them, even outdid them. Then he went silent. It was now midnight. My task was nearly done. I laid the 8th, 9th, and 10th rows. I had placed part of the 11th and only one stone remained. I struggled with its weight and moved it into place. Then a low laugh came from the niche. The sound made my hair stand on end. It was followed by a sad voice, barely recognizable as Fortunato's. Heh, heh, heh. A good joke. A great joke. We'll laugh about this at the palazzo. Over wine. Heh, heh, heh. The Amontillado, I said. Heh, heh. Yes, the Amontillado. But isn't it getting late? Won't they be expecting us? The Lady Fortunato and the others? Let's go. Yes, I said, let's go. For the love of God, Montresor. Yes, I replied, for the love of God. But no voice answered me. I grew impatient. Fortunato, I called. No reply, and I called again. Still nothing. I pushed a torch through the gap and let it fall. All I heard was the faint jingling of his bells. My heart grew sick because of the damp, I told myself. I hurried to finish. I forced the last stone into place. I sealed it. I rebuilt the wall of bones. For 50 years, no one has disturbed that place. Rest in peace.